Hello. This is the pilot episode of Spencer's Cool D&D podcast, title pending. I've decided to have a one-on-one chat with my good friend Morgan.
Hello.
Been playing D&D with me for many years. I am Spencer. And
And I am, of course, Morgan.
yes, we are going to this has just been an idea that I've had for a little while now. We talk about D&D
Yep.
all the time anyway, so I thought
Literally all the time.
just record it, do something with it, have fun, and because we love talking about D&D because it's probably the best game ever made.
And we play it 4 times a week. So
A lot. I mean, right now, it's been more.
Yeah.
It's been higher.
Didn't we have one time where we were playing like 6 games a week almost? I swear it was something crazy like that.
During the pandemic when I didn't have work,
we
just went nuts.
Yeah.
Good times.
That was insane.
But anyway, I want to talk about the whole ins and outs. So I thought we'd get started with how we got started with it, right? What was the introduction? And I did this on purpose because I actually did introduce my good friend Morgan to D&D. So he's going to talk about how cool I am and how awesome it was how I introduced him to it. You want to go first, or should I start with mine because I was earlier?
I think you should start with yours, and then I'll start talking about how you introduced me to it.
Okay, because I had wanted to play for a long time. I was always interested in it because we were always big nerds. We just never quite made that leap. D&D wasn't really in the mainstream very much.
And we had no idea how to play it either. It was just it was the thing that like, oh, only hardcore nerds play it, and we're just like, we're nerds, but we're not as nerdy as we would like to be. And we was like, we have no idea how to play it. It seemed like a lot.
We aspired to greater heights of nerd. But I don't know. I don't think like when we first started college, like 2010.
Yeah.
Had Critical Role really like taken off at that point, or was it even a thing?
I have no idea. I really don't remember.
Oh, you were supposed to be the Critical Role guy.
I
don't know.
Didn't watch it until later though.
Yeah, so it hadn't caught on, is what I'm saying. And so I'm not sure if 5th edition was even out yet. Because what I was introduced to was 3.5, which is good. It was a good edition. It had some good stuff in it.
Okay, so
what?
Critical Role 2015 is when it started.
Oh yeah, so no, this is back before like any of those mainstream had made it really popular. But my good friend Andrew, who I met in college, he was my roommate for a while, and he introduced me to the hobby because he had played it for a while with his brothers, and he finally ran a game for us, my first ever time playing D&D.
Was this in like 2011 or 2012?
Yeah, it wasn't 2010. I was just using that as a reference point because that's when we were interested. We were talking about it, but we never had gotten into it. This was around 2012 because this was after I had transferred to my new college.
Right. I always forget that you went to a different one before.
Yeah, I don't think I was gonna hit the big D&D crew at Harding, the Christian university. I'm pretty sure they would think it was the devil. So instead of that, I was introduced by my good friend Andrew. He's super cool. He got me into it, helped me roll up my first character, and explain the growl rules. It was a very basic D&D game. We played on a table at our it was called the Computer Club, and it was basically just an excuse for all the nerds to bring their gaming PCs and hang out in one of the classrooms together. And so we just took up a table and just started playing D&D. We didn't have a DM screen. We didn't have... Well, no, he did have a DM screen. It was 2 binders that were duct taped together. We didn't have maps. Right. We just had some dice and some basic, start up and go. That was pretty much it.
Now, Spencer.
What
edition did Andrew have you play?
3.5. Yeah, I mentioned that. So 3.5 was good. It was a lot heavier on the, intricate rules. They definitely simplified it more for 5e. But 3.5 had its good parts, and I was able to understand enough to play. My first character was a paladin, because of course, my favorite thing. If this continues and we do more episodes, you'll see how much I love playing the good old fashioned heroic knight of justice. But I rolled up a paladin and we played. It was a good couple months. I think we played through. We actually quote unquote finished the campaign. Andrew did a good enough job. It was kind of just spur of the moment. We whipped it up and kind of made it up as we went along. But it was enough that I was interested, invested. There was a cool moment where my paladin was at odds with the necromancer, because obviously the necromancer was doing some nasty stuff, and the paladin, I had to uphold my ideals, because in 3.5, if you weren't a good boy, you lost your paladin powers.
Yep.
So that was an interesting role play and stuff like that, and I really liked it. I mean, it was weird because I didn't even play all that much. We got together just a couple times a month, and eventually I got confident enough, and I wanted to play so bad that I downloaded, the 3.5 rules, and I called you and Jeff up on Skype at the time, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it was Skype. That's when we were Skyping each other, and so we play Smite all the time.
Yeah, so before Discord and everything, I was just like, hey, I figured out how to play in D&D. I finally got it. Would you guys be interested in playing a game? You guys are like, sure, right?
Yep.
So we started up a 3.5 over the internet. We didn't have Tabletop Simulator or Roll20 or anything. Was it just all Theater of the Mind? Or did we have some sort of map online thing? I forget.
I think it was all just Theater of the Mind, because I don't remember you doing any maps yet.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure it was just Theater of the Mind over Skype, because you were in south of the U.S. I was back in California, and Jeff is all the way in the Northeast.
So yeah, we were
all separated from each other.
We were literally across America. D&D, bringing people together. Let that be a lesson. So we ran it. I had the simple little notebook that I wrote down my ideas. I had sketched out a basic world map, and I just kind of was winging it, right? Jeff was a rogue, and you were a druid.
He was a halfling rogue.
Yes.
And I was. Hold on a second. Let me pull out the character sheet, because I still have it, by the way.
Oh wow!
I was a half-elf druid.
Awesome.
Named Illustar.
Is that a WoW thing?
That was the name of my first WoW character.
Oh,
so
okay,
yes.
Gotcha. So, yeah, we did that, and just to show you that you don't have to be good. You don't have to know everything. You don't have to be totally skilled to have a good time playing D&D, because that was my first time ever running a campaign in any system. I barely knew enough to figure out what I was doing. You guys were first time playing, and still, I think it was session 1 or 2 that has one of my favorite moments of us playing D&D.
Are you
You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I am, because that was the start of my bad luck.
Yeah, so now we've caught up to your first time playing D&D.
All right.
So explain from your perspective.
All right, so I'm pretty sure it was the first session.
Okay.
I started up playing a druid, which, by the way, I totally forgot that the druids in 3.5 have pets, and I had a bison named Tauros.
It was so rad. I miss
it. Was fucking cool.
Pets.
Yeah, well, we can get that in Pathfinder 2nd edition. So, which we are playing that, by the way, right now. But
yeah, don't be limited to just D&D. There's other good
yeah,
tabletop systems out there.
Yeah, like we're gonna be playing Star Wars at some point. Probably go with a few others. So
we've dipped our toes in Star Wars several times.
we're gonna play it after Pathfinder,
All
or
right.
once we get through the Pathfinder. That's what Jeff has said.
All right, I'm looking forward to it.
Which, by the way, Jeff is our DM for Pathfinder, and he will be for the Star Wars game as well. But he and so the three of us,
yes,
myself, Spencer, and Jeff, were best friends. So we started this game. Jeff being his evil halfling rogue, or I don't think he was he actually evil though?
I don't know.
He probably was. He probably chose chaotic evil before we really knew what
sounds
alignments
like
meant. I was a neutral good druid because I had to be a neutral alignment for a druid because druids had to be a neutral alignment in 3.5.
Oh man.
Mm-hmm. So I chose neutral good, and so we get to this town. I really don't remember a whole lot. There's just specific moments that really. There's two moments. No, sorry. There's three moments that actually stand out to me.
I think I know what you're talking about. Definitely the first one.
The first one is we get to town, we go into the bar, and we're talking to people. And Jeff's character decides to steal because he's a rogue. And he starts pickpocketing a bunch of people. And they noticed they had been pickpocketed. And Jeff's character is like, I'm going to stealth away. And he stealth aways, and I'm going to go. And they're like looking around for somebody, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna, I'll just try to keep out of the way, try to, be whatever. And Spencer had me roll stealth, and I'm like, all right. And I rolled, and what's my stealth roll? That one. And I got beat the shit out of me because they thought I stole.
Yeah,
like, oh, that's how that goes.
I remember because it was a guy in the tavern doing a contest of strength. If you can beat me in arm wrestling, you can win this big pile of gold.
Mm-hmm.
And so Jeff's character, thinking, I'm not strong, I'm stealthy, I'm just going to steal it from him. He stole, he got found out, and then as you two were running away, you both made those stealth checks. He being a nimble rogue, hid behind a crate, and you were left all alone. And so you didn't have the money, so they just beat you in the street and left you. Which was great. That was like session 1. We didn't know what we were doing, but good story moments can happen if you let them.
Yeah, things like that happen. It's just like, all right. But anyways, another moment that occurred that really stood out to me as one of the 3 moments was I remember we were on our way to this, I think it was a mountain, and we were resting for the night. And as we were resting for the night, goblins found us. I'm pretty sure it was goblins.
Is this the tree bit?
Yes.
Okay, so it was gnolls.
Okay, it was gnolls. I couldn't remember what it was. It was something.
Yeah, a bunch of gnolls came in, and druids had a fun ability back in 3.5, or one of their spells.
They could turn into a tree.
Yes.
So I was like, because I was looking, and I was like, oh, I got a really fun spell. This might help. And I was just like, all right, Jeff, get up on my shoulders. Got Jeff on my shoulders, turned into a tree, and all of a sudden he's a halfling rogue in a tree, which, by the way, he used a bow. So he was just sitting up there firing down at them, and they're trying to chop down this tree.
Yeah, he got a prime sniping position, and he was able to get most of them. Because, like, they had nothing to do. They could try to climb up, but they were just getting shot, so they were going to try and chop down the tree, but that takes several turns. That's not even one I was thinking of, which is funny. What's the third one you were thinking of?
We continue up the mountain. We get to the very end. We get to the final boss, and he turns out to be this evil demon that we weren't even supposed to fight. And so he was about to leave, but Jeff's character, he rolled initiative, got pretty high. He went first. Fires at the thing, crits, rolls stupidly high on his crit damage, and kills him in one shot.
insta-killed my boss from full. I mean, granted, I didn't know how to balance encounters properly. I was not sure about the damage output and all that stuff, but from what I knew at the time, I had a pretty good idea that, yeah, this will be a super tough boss, and they probably won't beat him, and they probably won't even fight him, and it's not really intended that way. So, Jeff's character, single shot, insta kills it, and I'm just
Which was
panicking. And so
insane crazy.
I had to keep the story going and exposit the lore somehow. So I had him survive that miraculously with no reason, and he just picked up his fallen head and put it back on his shoulders, which was cool. But I feel like I could have, if I was running that game now, I would let you just kill him and then have something else happen because of the consequences.
Yeah. Which is fine. It was your first campaign. We didn't complete that campaign. We only got so far.
Yeah, because we
had another friend who wanted to play, and so we just started a new campaign. But we didn't get very far into that. Yeah. Well, I mean, not now. Not now. We're actually pretty good about finishing campaigns. But yeah, so that was the start of both of our how we both got started in D&D.
There was one more moment that I liked. I can't even remember the specifics of it. I just remember that shortly after you acquired your animal companion as the druid, it turned out that he was a beast and like one shot your next enemy and just gored it with his big bison horns.
Oh yeah, that was actually
it was awesome.
A running gag in that campaign was Tauros was just a monster.
It was cool.
And he would just destroy my enemies, whereas me being a druid, I didn't actually have a whole lot of things to do other than become a tree, or heal, or use good berry. I remember I had a quarterstaff and a sling, and I didn't do much damage. And my whole thing was just, Tauros, go kill that thing.
Yeah.
Go kill that thing.
Took a while for animal companions to be good again.
Yeah. Poor Ranger. Poor 5e Ranger.
Well, that's a story for another episode. But yeah, we kept going. We kind of skipped over 4th edition because nobody talks about it. By the time we were ready to move on, 5th edition Ryan. Was already... well. But yeah, 5th edition came out, and 5th edition was just amazingly very user-friendly and was very easy for us to pick that up. I believe we did a very similar Just Us 3 campaign to start that off with our first campaign of 5e.
Yep. And in that, I could actually say what characters we played. I played Rogar, who was he bronze or copper? I want to say he was copper. He was a copper dragonborn monk, Way of the Four Elements, which at the time I was like, oh my god, cool, because Last Airbender. I didn't know any better. I was so sad about it.
It's still cool class. It's just mechanically I feel like our group definitely slides more towards the end of the scale that we like building characters to be strong mechanically, and we enjoy the process of crafting characters with these interesting combat and other abilities.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. And like Rogar was fun. Unfortunately, I did have a different version of the PHB on my phone, which ended up saying Water Whip was a bonus action. You remember that? Where you were like, no, in the book it says an action. I went, what? I was like, it says a bonus action right here, and I showed it to you, and we're like looking, we're like, oh, that's not good. And we looked it up, and it was errata to be an action, which really made because I was like, this is pretty good, because it's like it does like 3d10 bludgeoning damage, and it could bring, and it's like as a bonus action, I was like, this is awesome. I love Water Whip. And then it was come to find out it was an action, and so it took up my space to actually do any attacks for that turn. It was a real feels bad.
Yeah. So, I mean, we were still learning.
Yeah.
But that campaign was still, I mean, honestly, the 3.5 first campaign and that first 5e campaign were all over
They
the
were
place. It was a
they were
mess.
learning experiences.
It was
They were
certainly
learning
was, and we
experiences.
had fun, but boy,
Mhm.
I had no idea what I was doing. I was literally flying by the seat of my pants running those
No, but
games.
they were fun though.
Oh
Because
yeah,
they
I my favorite part of that one is you guys fighting an enemy bandit, chopping off his arm, uh recruiting him to your side, convincing him to fight and journey with you guys, and then eventually uh giving him the hand of Vecna and
yeah,
turning his alignment to evil.
that was fun. And he became a pirate king when the
He
pirate king of the north when the
Yeah,
campaign ended.
when the campaign ended, he became the Bandit King of the North.
It was awesome. His name was Roan,
Yes.
Roan. Uh, I I ended up playing him, so I
Yeah,
had
because
two
we only
characters
had
I was playing.
two player characters, so we needed to.
Yeah,
I also played DMPC, which
Scrapulock.
yeah, it was fun. If people were to ask me, I would probably say avoid running the DMPC in most scenarios because
Yeah.
it's just kind of awkward, and you're trying to not have them do much, but at the same time do a lot.
Oh, but I loved Lugan so much.
Lugan was fun. Lugan worked
Lugan
out a
was
little
so
bit
much
more
fun.
because we started Tomb of Annihilation with just the three of us,
Right.
but we were able to pick up the others from the Discord.
Yeah, two more
So
people.
when the
And
party filled out, it was a little easier because
yeah,
we had enough.
and it was just fun to be like um Lugan and his ape horde
Oh
to just
yeah,
do things. There's a lot of good stories from Tomb of Annihilation we could tell at some point, but I kind of want to just go over more of the our beginning stuff because again, they're more of the learning experience. Um,
yeah.
where I learned I don't really like Dragonborn that much because um, their breath attack sucks.
It's really unfortunate
It's
because
really bad.
it peters out really quickly, and if you're playing a like strong enough class that has some sort of good ability or spell, you're most
hmm
likely going to want to be using that other than the breath weapon.
hmm
I feel like if we were in a different game, because going back to the sliding scale, I've since played with a lot of other different groups, mostly
mm
with our regular group, but I've played some others. I went to the local game shop and did that stuff. Unfortunately, the go find games at your local game store is not really a good option right now, but
Not at all.
we met very good friends online, so don't let anyone say that you can't do that. Looking for group, any of those, on Reddit or Discord or whatever. But
Yeah.
yes, as I was saying, the sliding scale, because there's definitely different. We kind of tend towards the scale if we enjoy the mechanical and character building aspects, but then there's also groups that are much more heavily roleplay and they actually hardly ever see combat. So
Mm.
having a dragon breath as more of a character trait and have it show up in not necessarily pure combat, because in pure
True.
combat it kind of is lesser, but if you like,
Use it to
uh
intimidate
yeah,
somebody or
use it to
something like that. Yeah.
intimidate, or you're at a fancy party and you just suddenly start belching fire. There's some interesting
Or some other element.
Yes, there's some interesting like role play and stuff you can
hmm
do with that. Um
No, I absolutely agree. I myself just don't like Dragonborn because I feel like if I'm going to go towards more of the roleplay, I feel like there's better classes for me to do. But
True. I'm kind of predispositioned
or
towards Dragonborn
races.
because they make the perfect paladin. They get
Well,
strength and charisma. Not perfect. There are other ways to build it, but they're kind of
no,
just built
I
for it,
know,
and I
but
love it.
that's not really anymore considering that every race can have whatever ability score improvements they want
Well, I have
because
different
Dot
thoughts
does.
on that, and that's going to be a later episode. I have a whole
Oh,
thing to say about the race thing. It's not bad.
oh,
I have my own personal preferences when it comes to race and character creation.
Wait. I gotta ask,
What?
is this your I don't like change moment?
I
Is
mean,
this another one of those?
partially. I mean, like, we've been playing 5e for a long time, and I am kind of used to some things, but just the way of enjoyment that the enjoyment that I get out of building a character, I feel like some of it is taken away when anything can be anyone can be anything.
Well,
I don't.
I'm the opposite of that because I like the fact that I'm like, oh, to now use these races, which I've always wanted to use for the specific class, but I could never really do it because for me, I like to build my characters very much combat oriented. So I would like the stats. I would like specific stats where they are, and if a specific race has the abilities where I'm like, okay, yeah, these are stuff I kind of want, but I could go for this other race, which would give me exactly what I'd want and pretty much exactly what I want for the abilities or improvements. I'd rather go for that. But now I can go for this other race, which I would never go for before. So, say I could be like, oh, I wanted to play this paladin, but I didn't really feel the need to be uh, a gnome, which gets intelligence and like dex or con or whatever. But now I could totally do that.
Right, and it's good, and I appreciate that it's more open-ended and it adds a lot more customization. But it's just a personal preference thing. I'll get into that more later. But we were talking about getting started and all of that. We've actually already been going for a while, so I feel like I should switch it over to, since we're talking about our own experiences. What about D&D do you think that you appreciate the most, and the thing that like kept you into it after we first started playing? What kept you coming back?
Okay, so the thing that keeps me there the most, what keeps me the most interested, is that's the question you're asking, and
Pretty
what
much.
keeps me coming back.
What's your favorite aspect?
The fact that anything can happen. Like, it's just so random because you could have this set plan on what you think is going to happen, either as a DM or as a character, and the roles just take it in a completely opposite direction you did not even think about. And you just go from there, and it takes it off into this crazy direction, which you didn't even think about. There's a moment like that we had in Tomb of Annihilation, which is one of my top favorite moments we've ever had. Do you think I should talk about that?
I feel like we're gonna have to eventually.
All right.
It's a big
just
one.
as my example as to why I love this game so much. So in Tomb of Annihilation, we're in the city of Omu, and we're trying to get all the what was it, the keys?
It was the 9 puzzle cubes.
Right, the 9 puzzle cubes, and we learned the Yuan Ti had some of them. And so we went, okay, let's find this Yuan Ti base. We go to the front door, which, to be honest, not the best idea, but we were like, all right, let's try to just sneak our way through the front door. Let's bluff our way through. Let's take out the guards in the front, and then we'll just sneak our way through. That was the plan. We did actually bluff our way through the front door, but boy, did that take out a few guards thing not turn out well.
There was more going on in there than you realized.
Oh boy, did we. There were a crap ton of them, and we were just like, all right, let's just keep fighting. And they just kept coming and coming. They rang a bell or the gong, and they just kept coming and coming. Went, we need to get the out of here. So we start retreating. And we had, earlier in the campaign, we had fought some pirates to introduce 2 of the characters that had joined the campaign. And the pirate captain was Junkrat, so he had a lot of explosives.
I base him off of Junkrat from Overwatch, if you're not familiar. I thought it would be funny if he had an Australian accent and used explosives.
And it was pretty funny. It was a really funny moment. But anyways, we ended up getting a bunch of explosives from his ship because it didn't explode because we stopped that.
Yeah, I didn't even know what you guys were going to do with that stuff. I just thought,
Oh,
hey,
boy.
I made this themed encounter and you guys should get some loot to reflect that. So here's like a few easy quick bombs. They do like 3d6 fire damage basic.
Yeah.
And then here's a couple of what are essentially landmines. Like trip mines
Yeah.
where you just set on the floor and then people can activate them. And
Yep.
I did not intend for their actual what you guys use them for.
Oh, I know you didn't. But anyways, so Havoc, played by Brandon, one of the people you guys will probably meet someday. Which this was probably his favorite characters he's ever made.
Yeah, probably.
Was a College of Swords bard who acted like a thief, and it was Tabaxi, and he was really cool, and he was a lot of fun to play with. I played a tiefling hexblade warlock who was, as Spencer would say, was overpowered as shit, but I still don't think he was.
Yeah,
Not
here and
comparatively
there.
with some other characters. And I also multi-classed into Ranger so I could get an Allosaurus pet because that was just fun. It was just fun.
Yeah, because that was another thing that happened that I didn't intend. You guys, it was just a random encounter with dinosaurs, and
Uh-huh.
you immediately went for, I want an animal handling it. I want a dinosaur buddy. And I was like, you know what? Sure, let's run with it. And then so I modified it so that the Allosaurus stack block could be used for your ranger animal companion.
And it was just fun because I love dinosaurs. I've always been a fan of dinosaurs.
Of
Love the
course.
hell out of them. And so Two Moon Annihilation was just fun for me. And anyways, so we're in there. We had Spencer's player character Lugan. He summoned a bunch of apes to hold the line, and Havoc set down all of his explosives that he could at the feet of all the enemies that were charging at us. Oh, the explosions that happened. We took out over 30 enemies.
It was a perfect storm of like the druid summoned a bunch of animals, so they were able to keep you guys off the front lines. They soaked up damage while you guys prepared. The rest of you got into position and you had the explosives, so you were able to set it up perfectly so that as they were sweeping in to try and come get you, just a bunch of them went off and weakened them just enough for you guys to finish them. I think you guys used every uh resource at your guys' arsenal for this.
Yeah, and this was after one of our characters had been petrified as well.
Oh
Ryan's
yes.
character.
We didn't have his replacement yet.
Yeah, we didn't have his replacement yet. He got petrified, and we had no way to cure petrification at that point. So we're just like, well, he's out. And we just hid his statue away somewhere after we were done. But we were carrying out his statue, and we were trying to escape. We were very low on HP, and Brandon's like, hey, I got this idea. He just threw out all of the explosives that he had and just caused a mass wave of explosions that killed most of them and injured the rest, heavily injured the rest. Just take them out along, and then the apes could take them out as well. And we were just like, I can't believe that worked. It was one of the craziest moments in the game, especially since that's not supposed to be something that happens.
The book does not anywhere intend for you guys to charge in. It is uh read out in the book as essentially a death trap. Like you will not survive if the players just attack them all at once. I try to do it as faithfully to the book as possible for the number of enemies you fought, and yeah, you guys took out enough that it changed the way that dungeon worked because it was supposed to be you guys get captured, you become prisoners, and you have to figure out the dungeon politics, who to work under to get out, or find a way to get to your gear so that you can fight your way out, or even just agree to work for the leader, because that was an option, because he kind of wants what you guys want. But like, those were all a bunch of different other options, and the way that it was supposed to be played completely ignored after you guys barreled through with all your explosions. So yeah, of course, that one is a solid moment for all of us who were playing in that one. So
It was
yeah,
just fun because it was not something we were expecting to happen at all. We weren't expecting to use the explosives in that way at all. We just thought, oh, we'd use a landmine here and there to like ambush somebody or something. Throw a landmine down, and if like we saw an enemy group that was coming towards us, boom. We didn't expect to use all of them in that hallway.
so yeah, just the whole theme of don't try to make anything happen, especially as a DM. I'm a long
Oh yeah,
time DM, and you can't force anything. Just let
don't
things happen.
do not railroad the players. It won't work. It just the dice won't allow it. Things are going to happen beyond your control. Just
And that's
roll
what
with
you
the
want.
flow. Yep,
You want things
because
to change.
it leads to awesome moments and to things you wouldn't think of happening. Like maybe your players end up working with the bad guy, and hey, maybe they find out the bad guy is not really a bad guy,
It's
and
very
you can take the story in just a completely different direction that you hadn't
exactly.
anticipated.
It's a very difficult mix for letting the players do what they want, letting things change, and adapting to it that works well on a story level. And that's like more advice for DM and running games that
Mm.
I definitely want to do at some point, because I have run a lot of games in what we've been playing for like 8 years somewhere.
Yeah, yeah, 8 years.
Not as much as some, but a lot more than
Yeah,
others, I think.
yeah, and
And
we've played a lot of D&D in those past 8 years, like a lot.
that's part of why I wanted to do this, is because it's a game that I can just keep coming back to, which, like you
Mm.
said, one of the reasons is because anything can happen. We were big
Hmm.
video game guys before this. I mean, we still are, obviously, but like, we get that kind of excitement and game opportunity, but on a much larger scale, because it's just your
Hmm.
imagination.
Exactly, and it's just what makes it so great. And at some point, we'll have to get into character creation, just talking about
Oh yeah,
creating a campaign and just other things like that. There's a lot we can talk about here
a lot we have
just
talked
in
about. That's why I
yeah,
decided to start recording it.
and we can talk about those things again because we're always up for it. And there's always things where we look at something and we find out something new, and it always happens to me where I'll read through the book and I'll be like, oh, I didn't think of this combination before, or oh, hey, wait a minute, that's a
Yeah,
rule.
it's it's very fun, and part of it is, unlike a video game, you're not stuck with whatever the developers have made. You have a list of rules, obviously, but you can go anywhere you want from there.
And as much as I loathe to say it, the rules are just guidelines.
Rules are more, more
You
guidelines
can
anyway.
do you can do whatever they want. You can change the rules in any way that you want to or have fun with. Like we have a personal rule where potions to drink a potion yourself is a bonus action because it's so fun to use a potion as an action. That's just not fun.
Yeah, and just a whole bunch of different little house rules like that. We can have a whole episode on all the various different little house rules we've done and are,
And
doing right now.
there's house rules we've used for so long that we probably don't even remember that they're actually house rules.
Oh yeah. There's a lot.
Like, to be honest, if I played in somebody else's campaign that wasn't a part of our group and just somebody else's, and then I was like, oh yeah, as a bonus section, I'll just drink a potion, I wouldn't even think about that because we just use that rule constantly. I would just be like, Whoops.
What do you mean? It
That's
just
not a.
makes sense.
It does. It really does, though. All right.
Yeah,
Want to end the?
we've been going for about 40 minutes.
Yeah, that's
So
probably pretty
like the
good.
last thing to kind of end us out on is basically just we've already kind of talked about why we love the game, but if you had to convince somebody to try it, what
Oh
would
boy.
what would be the thing that you try and sell people on?
You can be whoever you want to be. You can be somebody you've always wanted to be in the game, or you can be somebody who you would never want to be in real life, but you would find it play you would find it to be in something that's not real.
Yeah, absolutely. Just the we definitely love to make characters, and then apart from that, as a DM, I love to set the stage for all the characters, and there, either side that you play on, you can get a lot out of it and just kind of make whatever you want.
Hmm.
It's just it hands down is the best game ever made. We're
Yeah,
gonna keep
it really is.
we're gonna keep explaining why, but I think that's good. We're just talking
Yeah,
about our introductions and how we started with it and why we like it.
yeah.
So thank you, Morgan, for sharing this with me,
You're
for
welcome.
helping me record the pilot episode. Name pending. I'll edit in a big title card or whatever when we finally figured it out.
Yeah,
But I like it. I just like talking about D&D straight up.
me too. It's honestly one of my favorite pastimes. It's just fun. You could go on for hours and hours just talking about it.
Of course. So if anyone anywhere actually ended up listening to this, thank you for dealing with us. I hope to make a few more of these, see if we can just have fun with it, and maybe get you interested in one of the best games. Morgan, thank you very much for talking with me. This has
Hmm.
been Spencer and Morgan and maybe some others talking about D&D. I'll see you sometime later.